Welcome back to Hip Hop Connections, where I talk about non-hip hop artists who have had a profound influence on the hip hop genre. And if you see the title of today's video, we are talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the Thin White Duke himself, David Bowie. David Bowie is one of the most important figures in the history of modern music. His uncanny ability to change his identity and sound with every album, while setting the next musical trend, showed how talented and how much of a risk taker he was. Because of this, he has either created or impacted a dozen genres: new wave, punk rock, electronica, grunge, glam metal, you name it. So it should come to no surprise that the Thin White Duke himself has had a huge impact on hip hop. When Bowie passed away, many current and past hip hop legends paid their respects to him, and you could tell that his music and image really had a profound impact on them. But how and why? Stay tuned as I take a look at David Bowie's hip hop connections. Before I get into the video, as always, if you enjoy the content of this channel, please hit the like button and the subscribe button down below, and if you're a return subscriber, hit that notification bell to be alerted for new content. David Bowie's hip hop connection goes all the way back to the late 70s and early 80s, when DJs were playing at dance parties and discos. This was when hip hop was still in its early stages, way before hip hop became the worldwide phenomenon that it is today. His music was being played by some of the great DJs of its time: Kool Herc, African Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash. Now, they probably weren't playing songs like Life on Mars and Heroes, just gonna put that out there. But Bowie's symbiotic relationship with black culture ran deeper than that. So before we go forward, we must go back a little bit to add some context. In the mid-70s, Bowie had completely shed his now iconic Ziggy Stardust moniker and started to flirt with soul music. At the time, soul, R&B, and disco music was one of the most popular genres. His look became more straight-laced and normal. He started having slick-backed hair and dressing in fancy suits. And during this time in the mid-70s, he made a series of albums that allowed him to really complete his musical transformation, going from playing glam rock and proto-punk to now dream pop, soul, and R&B music. Albums such as Diamond Dogs, Young Americans, and Station to Station were released in consecutive years, and it finally made Bowie a household name in the United States. Fame was his first #1 hit, and it was such a crossover song that it was just as popular in white music stations than black music stations. Because of the success of songs like Fame and Golden Years, he was able to perform at Soul Train.
Don't let me hear you say lights taking you nowhere. Angel, look at that sky, life's begun. Nights are warm and the days are young.
Yes, Soul Train. Back when few white artists were even playing at that venture. I think it was him and Elton John were the first white artists to play at Soul Train. Just think about how strange that must have been in 1975. It's almost like nowadays seeing Lil Wayne perform at the CMT Awards. By the time Station to Station was released in 1976, Bowie had already made plans to move back to Europe. And at this time, his soul period became dormant, as he started to flirt more with electronic music. But in the 80s, he released Let's Dance, which became his second and last #1 hit. And that song was also very popular in dance clubs and black stations. But his crossover to soul music wasn't just a gimmick. He genuinely respected the genre of soul and sought to work with the best musicians in that genre. One of those musicians was his longtime collaborator, Carlos Alomar, who was a Puerto Rican-born guitarist who had worked with Bowie for the first time on the Young Americans album. Both couldn't have come from more different worlds.
Literally, in 1974, one of the main ingredients told me that they were having a session at RCA Studio for this new producer called David Bowie. Now, I didn't know who David Bowie was, but I did know who Lulu was, and that's who he was producing. I had seen this movie called To Sir With Love, so I knew who Lulu was. I wanted to meet Lulu. Little did I know, Lulu wasn't at the session, it was just the music. Anyway, but this guy David Bowie comes out, 98 pounds, totally white with red hair, and I was like, whoa, you are weird. Anyway, we got together with him. He came over to my house, we hung out. Next thing I know, he's asking me to go on the road with him. I was 22 years old.
Alan Moore ended up being one of Bowie's longest collaborators and co-writers, working with him for 4 decades. It was also during this time that a young Luther Vandross was put on the scene as one of Bowie's backup singers. Because of the music that Bowie made during his soul period, it allowed him to become a frequent source for samples, which made him more established in hip-hop. By the time the mid-80s came, not only was Bowie a big crossover star, next to the likes of Prince and Michael Jackson, hip-hop was starting to gain airwaves as well, with Run DMC becoming the first group to have a top 10 hit. It also didn't hurt that on that song and album, Let's Dance, he worked with Nile Rodgers, best known for being the guitarist of Chic, another artist who was heavily sampled in hip-hop. Nowadays, hip-hop samples from everywhere, but in the 80s and early 90s especially, mostly funk and soul songs were being sampled the most. This meant that Bowie had a very deep presence and connection to the hip-hop community, way longer than any of his rock contemporaries could at the time. Take a listen to some of the samples of David Bowie's music found in hip-hop songs.
Like I won a championship.
Playing around the world and now, yeah. We've been player hated. I don't know when, I don't know why. Why they want us faded.
Succotash is a meal for kids that make cash, selling drugs to the brother man instead of the other man. Brother than sister. I'm talking about
It's me and JD, and they selling more birds than a pet shop. The spot's hot, and everybody nervous. That's when a blue car serves us.
So yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room, that elephant being named Vanilla Ice.
yo, VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby.
Yeah, I know those two very words create a shiver on a lot of people's spine and makes a lot of people cringe. But when Ice Ice Baby became the first ever rap song to go #1, it was partly because of David Bowie. The song prominently samples the bass line from David Bowie and Queen duet Under Pressure. And the song became controversial because it really tested the limits of what was sampling and what was stealing. Now this wasn't really a big issue at the time because hip hop wasn't that mainstream yet, and I doubt a lot of rock musicians were really paying close attention if their music was being sampled without permission. But because of the major success of Ice Ice Baby, this topic became a big deal now. And you know that Bowie and Queen were both paying attention. Now, does this song sample Under Pressure, or is it more of a blatant copy? I don't really know. I wish there was somebody who can give, I don't know, a really deep, analytical, professional opinion on this matter. But who could it be?
It's totally different. It's a rap song. It doesn't sound anything like theirs. Ding ding ding. That's the way theirs goes. Ours goes ding 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 diggy ding ding. Ding 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 diggy ding ding. That little bitty change. Ours goes ding 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 diggy ding ding. Theirs goes. Ours goes. Little bitty change. It's not the same. Not the same. Not the same.
Really, bruh? Really? As you can imagine, Bowie and Queen threatened a copyright infringement suit against them, but it was later settled out of court with Vanilla Ice. Ice was required to pay the artist for compensation of sample use. And now Bowie and Queen are both credited with songwriting credit, which, you know, listen, if I was Bowie, I would say, you know what, I don't really need songwriting credit on this one, you can take my name off. The criticism that Vanilla Ice received over sample use in this song allowed sampling to become acceptable in mainstream hip-hop. Although Bowie got into this dispute with Vanilla Ice, he still had a deep respect for hip-hop. and was very prophetic about where the genre was going in this now famous 1993 interview.
I'll never forget when last you were here, you were saying that the only people in the music business now, in your opinion, who were being truly creative were the rappers.
Yes, I believe that's so.
Do you think most others have just sold out to commercialism?
Well, it's not that so
problem?
much. I don't think that it's that so much. I think that the white generation have come of age. In fact, they're part of the administration now. The people that brought rock and roll to us in its white form. I think that the quality and the significance of the social message has moved very much fundamentally to the black and Hispanic market.
Recently, a transcript between a conversation with Mos Def and Bowie in the late 90s revealed that Bowie was also a huge fan of Mos Def and his group Black Star. Black Star. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Is it that much of a coincidence that Bowie's last album was named Black Star? Was Bowie also paying homage to one of his favorite groups? Maybe, maybe not. Just throwing it out there. On Black Star, David Bowie admitted that he listened to Kendrick Lamar almost every day, and the album To Pimp a Butterfly had a profound impact on him. He also listened to Def Grips and other alternative hip-hop musicians to gain inspiration for a rock album that didn't really sound like a rock album. David Bowie really admired the way that Kendrick Lamar was so musically open-minded, and that he threw everything on there. Funk, soul, free jazz, you name it. And if you listen to Black Star, you can definitely hear the hip-hop influences on it. But you can't talk about Bowie without talking about his style. I mean, his 70s looks challenged masculinity and embraced the abnormal. Nobody was really doing that at the time. And generations later, his gender-bending looks and bizarre image has become widely accepted in hip-hop. Artists such as Young Thug and Lil Uzi Vert wouldn't be comfortable with what they wear today if not for Bowie. And in terms of song content, would artists such as Outkast and Kid Cudi gain mainstream success talking about space and extraterrestrial if not for Bowie? Even Kanye West and Pharrell owe a huge debt to Bowie. Their careers and sounds changed course so many times that can't count on just one hand. But because Bowie had the confidence to do those things first, and still being embraced by the mainstream, it proved that people in other genres can do the same too, and still gain fans, and not having to worry about being pigeonholed. Just like many other musical genres, David Bowie is an essential person in hip-hop, playing a part in indirectly building its early success in the 1980s, all the way to its global ubiquity in the 2020s.
Thanks guys for checking out this video. Let me know in the comment section below if there's any other hip hop connections that you would like me to do a video on. And I would love to extend this video to not even just music artists, maybe designers or painters that have had an influence on hip hop. YouTube recommends these two videos to check out after this one. As always, until next time, peace.